Watch this if you also don't know what to do with your life. I don't know what to do with my life. And I'm trying to accept that. I'm trying to sit with that unknown, that sense of uncertainty. It's not easy, you know what I mean? Because we're told from the young age that we should know what we want to do with our lives when we're 18. But the more I try new things and the more I have a plan, the more that plan just doesn't go accordingly. Whether it's certain things that happen that I get upset about and annoyed about and frustrated about, or just life happens in a way where certain people, places, and things get thrown at you in the least predictable way, and you have to be able to surrender to that. There's a nice saying I like. It's like, you plan, God laughs. You think you have free will, and I do believe in free will, but then certain things happen in your life where you almost feel guided by something else, something above you, something beyond you. This could be something you believe in, religiously speaking or spiritually speaking. It doesn't really matter. That's what I've experienced quite a bit recently, of things happening in my life where it's been aligned with me, but just so far from the plan I had sorted out, plan I had figured out, you know. And I'm somebody who's done a couple different endeavors at my business, for 2 years before the business now, but still I know damn well that in 5 years from now, in 10 years from now, probably even in a year from now, I won't be doing what I'm doing now. And it's not easy to accept that, to still do something in the moment knowing that it's not really what you want to do. And I think a lot of people get programmed to think that they should be doing the same thing in 10 years from now. And what if you doing the same thing in 10 years from now is a signal of your lack of growth, of your stagnation, of you hanging around the same people, the same environment. So naturally you still have the same identity, the same beliefs system. And what if we're meant to be doing new things constantly? Isn't that what growing means? Isn't that what evolving means? To shedding different layers and constantly looking out for new opportunities. And that inevitably shapes our identity. Because the reality is, you really never know what your future self wants. You really never know what your future self wants. There's a TED Talk I watched on this. If you type in future self TED Talk, maybe it'll come up. And it talked about this exact notion of, you may plan relentlessly, you may have a great sense of self, of like who you are, what you like, what kind of places you want to live in, but oftentimes, it's very, very common. You can speak to people older than you, older than me, in their 40s, 50s, 60s, they look back at their life being like, wow, you know, my 20-year-old self did not see this coming. And these people may have been very bright 20-year-olds, very focused 20-year-olds, 20-year-olds that have a future planned out for them. But what if the 30, 40, 50-year-olds that ended up doing the same thing they set out for as a 20-year-old, what if those the people regretting not stepping outside their comfort zone, stepping outside their bubble, their cage that they've made for themselves? I'm not just saying you shouldn't go after something for 20, 30, 40 years and like be consistent at one thing and get really good at that and master your craft. I think that's amazing and you should do that. But you can't fall into the trap to thinking that whatever you're doing now in your 20s or however old you are, that's the thing you should be doing for the rest of your life. And that's why it's so important to not to attach yourself to that. Like, you could still be someone who loves to paint but not pursue painting as a career for the rest of your life. You could still do many things you love without having to be so attached and fixated to an income, to an identity, to a status. You know what I mean? And that's what I'm continuing to learn. I have a lot of things I want to do and I still want to do them, but maybe it's not in the way I thought it was going to be like. Maybe I won't be that guy I thought I was going to be like, and maybe I have to veer towards a new path right now, you know what I mean? And it's not easy. I've always considered myself to be someone who, at least the last 3-4 years, ever since I dropped out of school, to be someone who wants to build things, create things, start a business, make money online, etc., etc. But what if there's a path out there that's still aligning with my values and principles, but it's not about making my own business and hiring employees and building a team? Maybe it's about collaborating with other people and working with people on a bigger mission beyond me. A lot of times we're wishing for things, praying for things, and we get those things, but we don't listen because it's not in the exact way we wanted them to be like. You know, you want more money, there's opportunities knocking on your door, but not in the same way you thought they were going to be like. And you have to be able to surrender to that. You have to be able to let go and just move on with whatever is coming your way. I think that is where you have true freedom, true sense of purpose and identity, when you understand that it's not always going to be the exact way you thought it was going to be like. And there's a B. And maybe that's a blessing in itself, to be able to be exposed to new things as you journey throughout life. You know what I mean? So as someone who really does not know what they want to do with their lives, and I'm 23, I didn't think this was going to be the case. You know what I mean? And I could sit here telling you that, oh, I have these goals and these dreams, and I do have somewhat clarity over certain things I want to do, but I still don't really know what I want to do with my life. And I think that should be more normalized at any age. Because what if you'll never know what you really want to do with your life? Now that's a weird one. I just thought about that now. But what if when you're 40 years old, you know, what you did until 40 was amazing, and that's what you thought you wanted to do with your life, but then something else came, and now you're a musician, not an entrepreneur. Now you are an artist of some nature. Who's to say you can't do that? Pivot past. And what if you look back on your entire life on your deathbed and you realize that there was no path in the first place? There was no like, I'm going to be a musician, I'm going to be this, I'm going to be this. There was no label, because you were doing so many different things, and it was all about how can you become more of yourself? How could you truly embrace this life experience? And I think that's why I'm sitting here saying I don't know what I want to do with my life. That sounds like a bold statement, like something that, you know, I feel lost or confused or unclear. But no, I mean, I think I'm wise enough to know that things change for the good. Things change, and I want things to change. And I can't be attached to things that I know will be fleeting. Needless to say, I do still want, this sounds very contrary, but I still want to build things that last a long time. But that won't be my identity forever. I won't be that guy doing this. Like, maybe people will know me like that, but you have to break through these constructs, break through these identities, these paradigms that you will inevitably fall into, that is okay to fall into, then zoom out and realize there's more out there to learn. You know, what's the point of being the brightest in the room? When you're the brightest in the room, you're the person who simply just knows everything. You're not growing. So in order to grow, you have to be able to change. You have to be able to peel the layers of the onion. Don't stop peeling the onion. You peel one layer, you realize, oh, this is cool, this is who I am, I'm 23, I'm doing this. As you go through life, you gotta peel more layers to get to your core, to your true essence. You don't just go to your true essence like this. You gotta be able to experiment with new art forms, with new ways to express yourself. You found your way, you're talented at one thing, great, but keep going, don't stop. Because that's the purpose of life, in my opinion, is to constantly reveal the layers of who you are and your soul's purpose, your soul's mission. And that's why I don't think, at least yet, if ever, I know what I want to do with my life. I know who I want to become, or the path I want to become, but in all honesty, I have zero idea how it's going to look like. Zero idea. But still, make your vision board, make your plans, you know, do these things that are very like mind, ego focused, you could say, because we have the mind and the ego for the reason. Then surrender to the rest and let the magic unfold. Let the magic unfold. So that's a wrap for this video. Hope you enjoyed it. And as always, feel free to comment anything you liked, anything you enjoyed, your journey, whatever it may be. And if you're curious to be able to talk together, to connect, to potentially work together, a link down below to chat. And as always, much love, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace out.